Good morning, Dan and Amy. Holman Jenkins, writing in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend, says, hooray, Republicans have saved America's healthcare system. Okay, we exaggerate, but there are inklings of a salvation. He's generally sanguine about the legislation passed by the House last week, even as it moves to the Senate. And perhaps there's some good news on the employment side as well. We talked to Scott Shalady from Fox Business about the April jobs numbers on Friday. Let's pick up the discussion on both topics with our friend Jimmy Pethokoukis.
Jimmy P!
CNBC contributor, columnist for the American Enterprise Institute, and also runner-up in the Profiles in Courage Award at the JFK at the Kennedy Center yesterday. He just narrowly lost to President Obama.
He's a Jeopardy winner.
Well, he's also a Jeopardy champion. I mean, he's many things. He's not one thing. He's many things. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. As Paula Abdul used to say on American Idol, I have many colors.
Yeah, wow. I'm a
person of many, many colors.
I mean, only a Jeopardy champion could recite Paula Abdul from memory. I mean, that's the kind of intellect we're dealing with here. So you wrote a piece in your column for AEI.org, by the way. The April jobs report. Can the U.S. job market get even tighter? And you point to some good signs, including more prime-aged Americans working as of the end of April, and say we should be fixated on supply-side things. Elaborate on that.
Well, listen, the big question is, what's wrong with the U.S. job market? And maybe more and more, it looks like the simplest answer is that we had this really horrific recession, with a financial crisis, and recoveries tend to be really bad after those, and it's just sort of the healing continues, even in areas which have been terrible, like, sort of people, 25 to 54, their sort of participation in the job market. That's been terrible. That's sort of slowly improving. And still getting a lot of jobs every month, which, suggests that, this is not a super tight market yet. But things are improving. But I think at some point we just need to focus on sort of the bigger, boring, long-term things, education, getting taxes right, getting regulations right, making sure we, get a lot more new companies forming, which has been a kind of not a great thing about this economy for a long time. So you need to focus on those things. But I think it's tough to be patient, especially if you haven't gotten a raise in a while. But, things are slowly improving.
So, Jimmy P., where were the jobs added? In what sector?
Oh, listen, the market has continued to sort of split, in which you saw sort of lots of jobs created in sort of like, your lower wage, hospitality, retail actually looking a bit better, but then also sort of in the higher-end business services. And that's really been the story of this job market, which you have sort of the high end and the low end, but not the middle. And actually the middle jobs are also the ones which tend to be most easily replaced by automation. So that's a trend we'll probably see continue.
And so with respect to those supply side things that would boost wages, is one of those supply side things the long-term reductions in structural tax rates?
In structural what?
Tax rates.
Oh, well, that would be great if we could do that. I think we have to have a tax code that rewards investment more. That has been one of the big drags on the economy since the recession, is just very weak business investment. So if we got better investment, we'd have more productivity and higher wages. And when you look at this job market, again, one of the lagging things has been wage growth, but we've also had weak productivity growth. And it's not surprising, if you're not being more productive, wages aren't going to go up very fast. So more investment and a tax code that supports that investment, that would be wonderful.
And with respect to Obamacare replacement, I know we're just through one chamber, but if something were to come out of the Senate that is substantially similar, or at least after reconciliation, substantially similar to what the House passed last week, would that essentially be a wage increase for many American families who buy health insurance in the private marketplace? They'd see premium reductions and reductions in their deductible, ostensibly. At least that's one of the selling points.
Right. I think the very broad strokes of what Republicans want to do, whether it's the subsidies for buying health insurance, whether it's moving high sort of people with these pre-existing conditions into these risk pools. All that stuff is a good idea. I don't think it's very well assembled by the House, so the Senate's basically going to start, I think, with a blank slate. And the key thing missing is the Republicans probably need to spend a lot more money than what the Republicans in the House wanted to spend. But listen, if we can get a healthcare system that has sort of more market forces operating, more transparency, more choice, and healthcare costs rise more slowly, that's a good thing because that means more of your pay will go into your paycheck rather than to health insurance premiums.
So if you're younger, healthier, you're going to have lower premiums and a lower deductible. But what if you have a pre-existing condition? Because that's all I heard all weekend long is that all those with pre-existing condition, their premiums are going to be skyrocketing and they're not going to be able to afford health care.
Right. So, So if you're buying health insurance on the individual market, the Republican plan is to, which would be the plan in most states, is for these risk pools, which people with pre-existing conditions are sort of be shunted into, which are a fine idea. The only problem with that is that they're probably too skimpily funded and probably multiples of what the Republicans are prepared to fund at this point. If they're really well funded, Democrats will be fine with it. They're just very skeptical they'll be funded, and that's sort of the big issue. And is this ultimately a bill about cutting spending and reducing taxes, or is it ultimately a bill about providing more market-oriented, consumer-centric health care? And Republicans have been too much on the former, not enough on the latter.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting just on the $8 billion fund for the high-risk pools for those with pre-existing conditions. Rove made the point, Karl Rove, over the weekend that, wait a second, because this is the Democrat criticism, it's not enough money. Last year, states were at like 1.4, 1.6 billion, so they were around the number that informs the $8 billion that Republicans set aside for these high-risk pools. So there's not a lot of evidence to suggest that Democrats are correct on this. It's just that Democrats always, want more. How much more? More.
Well, listen, Democrats, they have a plan. They figure they have solved this problem. So, they do not want any of these changes, and particularly changes being pushed by an administration that they view as illegitimate.
Right.
So they're going to be kicking and screaming about any changes, whether it's health care or whether it's tax reform, whether it's anything Republicans want to do, and sort of, play stonewall until they hope to get a better deal in the Congress or even take back the House.
I want to go to the unelected fourth branch of government, the bureaucracy, the administrative state, which the Trump administration has spent some time discussing and working to defang, I guess, is one way to describe it. Looking at the regulatory framework of the federal government, if there are one or two agencies under the rubric of regulatory reform that you would promote to engender the greatest amount of growth, what would those be?
Here's what I would do. Actually, what I would do is, we have this Congressional Budget Office, which does scores of bills, and the White House has a budget office that tries to figure out how much these bills are going to cost and all this. I would like all of these bills focus. I would like every regulation to be scored for whether it promotes innovation, whether it promotes more competition in the economy, and give it that kind of score. So I'd actually maybe create a new office would do all those things. And also let me say that I'm extremely disappointed that I have practiced all my French names all weekend.
Oh,
and we're not going to talk about
okay,
that.
well, the euro hit a 6-month high after
Macron. I'm working so hard, but it's fine.
Oh, well, no.
What do you think?
Go ahead. Which socialist did you like? By
our standard, listen, by the global standards, advanced economies, the Republican Party is the most conservative party, and like the Democratic Party is like the second most conservative party. You have to sort of do the European adjustment. But that was a throttling of. Well, listen, Marion Le Pen from the National Front, she should have promised to put a conservative on the court. And perhaps she would have done that.
Okay, why next time just say, "Hey, come on, lob me a softball. I've got it. I got something ready. If you put it on the tee." Oh, well done. I mean, this is.
I'm creating my own segment.
I know. We don't even need to be here. Pethokoukis just sets it up and then he spikes it. All right, Jimmy Pethokoukis, CNBC contributor, columnist for the American Enterprise Institute. James, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
And he joined us on our turnkey answer line.